Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm Part 17, Order and Operation. Hope everyone's enjoying the snow. We got some good, just a couple quick proofs about snow, right? The reason there's no two snowflakes exactly the same is because there's no mean free paths that are the same. The reason your farts smell good to you and not to other people are because of infinite biological diversity. A different snowflake is evidence of infinite physical diversity, but just infinite experiential diversity. But just a couple quick proofs, but several different ideas we'll be talking about in this episode, connecting a lot of the ideas that I've presented. Again, completely novel first principle derivation to literally direct physical theory. The first thing I wanted to talk about is PEMDAS, right? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and addition and subtraction. Why? Why linguistically? What physical reason determines the order of calculation? There should be some physical reason, right? We haven't covered inflation, but I'm pretty sure inflationary theory is absolutely correct because of instability. But why? What physical reason do we need to calculate exponents first? Numbers have to represent physical systems, so we should be able to make some statement saying, right, the reason you only need the first order Taylor polynomial for an approximation calculation is because of locality, right? If I fart in this room, you're not going to smell it in your room. So there should be some sort of development of argument as to why PEMDAS is this. Being specific, parentheses, that to me that's not even a true mathematical operation. That's just someone saying do this calculation first. So my guess is, like, if you were to say what is the fundamental theorem of calculation, I guess this parentheses doesn't really matter, or it doesn't. Like, it articulates like a wrong formulation of a problem or something. I wanted to point out that multiplication and division are reciprocation as well as addition and subtraction. Not a whole lot to say logically there, but again, that's evidence of the mathematical stability of 2. What linguistic analog can we draw about subjects and verbs and future and past tense, right? Past tense we use 2 words, future tense we modify syllability. But the thing I wanted to point out here is, right, it's complete sentences. You can have a complete sentence without a direct object. Completeness is difficult for me to cover in complete generality, or I'm missing something, but we can ask the difference, but like why biologically, why psychologically, why physically can we have complete sentences without a direct object? And that can give us some insight into proofing for complete, or just more logic there. The fundamental stability of 2, we've now talked about that psychologically, mathematically, linguistically, mathematically, I think I've already said that, but it connects the Pauli exclusion principle to differentiation. The fact is, electrons, when they transition, they fill orbital valence shells, spin up, spin down, spin up, spin down. Right? That's direct ordered differentiation. There's some physical reason why. Maybe the preservation of a dynamic. Again, maybe we can learn something about transferring electrons in non-metal substances there. Also, I wanted to point out laminar flows. To me, that is a preservation of dynamic that, like, you can't tell a laminar flow is flowing. Something about stability, the interaction with that's direct proof of a physical system not modifying, interacting in light at a speed. You can do the experiment on your desktop table. So the fundamental stability of 2 is why the Pauli exclusion principle differentiates spin up and spin down. So direct connection of my mathematics to fundamental physics. Black holes and logical inconsistency. I just saw today on Reddit, and today's the 17th of February 2021. but it just says, some guy saying on there, I hate when people say, I could care less. And it's just a great example of a logical inconsistency. I've heard that many times throughout my life, and it's incorrect. If you could care less, you dumb ape, why don't you? But black holes, now I created a logical inconsistency. In my last language videos, I said black holes are not black. It is what it is. Black is black. So what gets bigger the more you take out of it? A hole. And that's a very common joke or riddle. But the logical inconsistency, okay, a black hole is certainly not a hole. Is it black? Maybe. And let me be specific. So a hole is literally something that, like, the absence of matter. A black hole certainly has matter. That's why it changes the galactic rotation. But all right, if I'm an object and I absorb all of the radiation that comes to me, then the color the other thing sees is black. But the thing I'm certain on is black holes don't radiate. But not radiating doesn't answer, do they absorb the light of other things? So a black hole might be black, it's certainly not a hole. I'm very confident physically it's not vibrating, that's why it's not radiating, just because extreme mass, extremely ordered, zero entropy, or approaching zero entropy with the Hawking radiation. But I just wanted to point that out. That's a logical inconsistency I created 2 days ago. But we can make the direct physical statement that vibration is a scalar, right? In physics and math class, you have vectors and you have scalars. A scalar is a number, okay? So, scalars are numbers, and I put vectors are functions. And I put an asterisk because people say why, or explain more. And I haven't proven this, but for vectors, you need a magnitude and a direction. A magnitude is a quantity is a scalar, a direction. There should be some physical, what is a direction? No. What is directionality? How is directionality determined? We should be able to make some, again, physical argument, fundamental physical argument about how systems determine direction. Einstein pointed out that gravity is a shape. So gravity, maybe we don't view gravity as a force. And we find some fundamental geometric reason as to why, because of instability, I don't know. Again, the fundamental stability of 2 is also manifested as there's no magnetic monopoles. So it is what it is. Magnetism is magnetism. Electricity is electricity. Did Maxwell unify electricity and magnetism? Mathematically, maybe. Physically, fuck no. So I'm sure there's something physically different about electricity and magnetism, because you can have, electrons are negative charged, protons are positively charged, but there are no natural monopoles. And then the last thing I wanted to say is energy plus rhythm is synergy, right? We talked about timing is synchronization. Well, you can literally see, like, there's some logic I would have to prove in here, but energy plus rhythm is literally where you get this Y for synergy. That's where it comes from. So we covered vectors and scalars, and so now we can reduce our definitions for speciality and sensorality even more. Speciality differentiates, whether it's temperature to radiation, whether it's our electron orbitals filling, whether it's human beings. Literally, a species is a biological differentiation of life. And sensorality consolidates, right? Go out into the world, change, think, grow, and then bring all the information back to the species. So those are our definitions there. And then the last thing I said, I'm just trying to pull all these ideas together. I don't have anything super cool beans to say here. But I want to talk about just different top-down, looking at different mathematical structures. I want to talk about Isaac Newton a little bit and just about intelligence jumps in mathematical research. So now I just wanted to talk about some intelligence jumps specifically to mathematical and scientific research. Again, I'm going to hopefully soon stop qualifying my statements, but this can sound as arrogant as you want. I'm really doing this to try to show you at the higher level, the jumps get pretty large, and there's just stuff in history that I'm not confident is true mathematically or historically for mathematics or science. When the last slide was saying sensorality consolidates, right? You have the Riemann hypothesis or any hypothesis, and people conjecture, and then it's proven, and then the proof's reduced to basically nothing, to the it is what it is statement. That was just the point from biology to mathematics. But for intelligence jumps, right? Spelling a word constructs a variable, and equating for the time change about like what did people know at different time frames, or what could have people known, right? The ancients absolutely could have developed the polygon argument for sure. So if you had to say, Brad, who was the most accomplished scientist, all things considered, I would definitely say Isaac Newton. And the reason I say that is because what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable mass? And the answer is absolutely nothing, and put at Isaac. And logically, it's a correct, fundamental physical question. And it has an answer in proper ontology. So, physics was always physics. This statement alone makes me say he was the closest to just understanding the entirety of it. And the way that you can kind of see is productivity, right? Albert Einstein comes out, I don't know the history that well, has his special relativity paper, 5-6 years later has his general relativity paper. Writing a paper to me is even confusing as opposed to proving a result. Like Albert Einstein never had good mathematical skills. On his deathbed, he was literally writing down equations. So that tells me that there was very, very honestly, Einstein did not, like he himself said, sorry Newton, but you found the best way then. Einstein's mathematical capacity was strictly his lack of productivity. Even though he says those words, I don't think he had the best understanding of quantum stuff, and he certainly didn't have the mathematical capacity to progress the logical understanding, and certainly not to construct new variables and integrate them into actual fundamental ontology. And so just for reference, like I said, I put Jesus at a 350 to 400 IQ, and a God at about 600 to 800 IQ. Like I said, mainly for the productivity, because there's really a plateau in sense of awareness at true fundamental enlightenment. So then you literally just look at productivity. But like I said, Jesus is substantially less than God because he wasn't spreading his words at that time. Gauss, like I said, if you're just a mathematician, like that's not even like in the intelligence game to me. Again, you think I can be arrogant, but I put Brad Big Brains at 1,000 because I'm actually imperceptibly smarter than everybody else, as proven by living my fucking life. But even at that, like I said, there's no mystery. There's no like even I want to say there's no excitement to mathematics, but it really is just work. And so like when you have Einstein saying, or I put Tesla up here. I don't consider Tesla a great intellect, but historically he's got a lot of buzz around his name. But he had a quote, right? He's had several quotes, but you know you can understand the universe if you think in frequency, energy, and vibration. Tesla said that. So, you know, he had some intuition to vibration, but he also said, you know, when the scientists start to think critically about religion, we'll make more progress in 10 years than in the rest of history combined. Kind of. We have made more progress than the rest of history combined, but there's no, like I said, religion is so clear to me of what it is, of how the ontology is developed. And so when you see these people, again, a profound historical intelligence, and Newton was very into religion, but see, Newton was also into the treasury. I mean, he did other functional things. Like, I do other functional things. I don't consider mathematics or scientific research. I make a fucking YouTube once a day if I feel like it. And that's the extent of the mathematics I need to do at this point. Because seriously, at my level, right, in the Avengers Endgame, Thanos, I am inevitable. There's truly, like, oh, also, right, everyone knows the Pythagorean theorem, people don't know the Pythagorean cult. There's true levels of intelligence jumps. I have extreme discipline, I don't need extreme discipline. If I don't die, this shit gets done. Thanos in the movie Avengers, he's reflecting the human sentiment of imagination being conjecture, and those conjectures being inevitable in the long run. Human beings consolidate information. We iterate. That's why we have generations. That's why we reproduce. But like I said, the progression is truly inevitable if I don't die. But like Euler, he was probably, one of the mathematicians people said have like the most prolificness. And at his peak in 1775, he had a paper a week at his peak productivity. Like, I'm never going to fucking write a math paper again. I'll write a sentence when I prove it as an axiom. That's about it. So like mathematical papers, mathematical proofs, well, theorems, proofs, reduced proofs. Reduced proofs are the only thing that's even interesting to me. Instinctually, physically. Gauss, I just put question marks, he's very popular. I didn't even review his work, but I think he was less productive. Euclid had 10 axioms and 400 theorems. I have 5 axioms going to prove the 6th and millions of theorems. What else? There was one other thing I wanted to say here. That might be it. But I just wanted to give you guys some genuine, again, for whatever reason, this will strike people as insanely arrogant. But again, when you're at this level, everything your day-to-day is just a hassle. Like, I'm trying to start business as I can because of genuine scientific incompetence in species. I try to have a conversation with people to start reacting to the resonance in my voice. And so, but I did want to point that out, like when you have Newton or you have Pythagoras and they're very disciplined and they're very goofy, that's truly a substantial intellectual jump down from Jesus or God. Right? Emotional intelligence is kind of the base of intelligence. So yes, there's different analytical abilities, but that's, the social reactions to Jesus or God is tremendously different than Newton or to Einstein, even accounting for the time difference. So that's why I think Isaac Newton genuinely had a much more fundamental understanding, because he provided this statement and it's correct logically. Thanks for watching. Hope I provided some good ideas for you guys. Part 17, Order and Operation.